Gentleman for yielding. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for this hearing. Mr. Miller, so I just want to be clear with the Chairman's earlier questioning. You have not responded to the Chairman's letter sent last week?
I believe the letter was received on the 28th. I got notice of it upon my return on Monday. So no, those wheels are turning, but I don't believe a formal response has been submitted.
Do you know when? Tell me when sequestration passed. When that became the law? Do you know when that was?
Friday.
No. When the legislation passed requiring sequestration to take effect. You know when that was?
I don't remember the exact.
August 2nd, 2011, 19 months ago. Have you been doing any planning? I mean, it seems to me when you get a letter from the Chairman about sequestration, you've had 19 months to start planning and getting ready for it. In fact, you should have been ready for it. If you took some time, you should have been ready for it in December because it was supposed to hit January 1st and was suspended for 2 months. It seemed to me you would have a response ready to go just like that, and you could get right back to the Chairman. So you guys didn't start planning for this until the last couple of weeks?
We plan on the implementation of Sequester. That's been quite consuming, actually.
Well, how long have you been planning for it?
We've been planning on the implementation of Sequester in varying degrees since beginning of the year.
Why not before that? I mean, it passed August 2nd, 2011.
Because both, at least as I interpreted the press like you, it was both parties and the administration, both members of Congress, thought that it would not be going into effect.
Let me go to the statement that the Secretary made, the now famous statement. It just means a lot more children will not get the kinds of services and opportunities they need, and as many as 40,000 teachers could lose their jobs. There are literally teachers now who are getting pink slips, who are getting notices they can't come back this fall. Do you know where the Secretary got that information, what he was basing when he made that statement, what information he was basing that statement on?
Yes. So the issue of the 40,000, which is a recognition that the bulk of funding goes to personnel costs, and the 40,000 does represent an estimate of if that was translated directly with the current funding splits.
What I'm asking is, did you guys do some study? Had you guys given him information saying this is going to happen? We have surveyed schools across the country, surveyed some of those military schools, some of the schools on Indian reservations you referenced in your did you survey those, or did you just sort of make this up?
No, we'd be precluded from, that'd be inconsistent with.
So how'd you base that? How could he make that statement?
Again, we have an understanding of the cost structures from our historic work at the state and at the district and at the school level. We understand the basis of the cost structure. And so when the question's asked, how might this translate into the impact, we can say, if consistent with the current allocation of funds as it is today, this is what it would translate
to. So this was a guess.
Costs.
You said how this might turn. This was a guess that the department made and portrayed to the American people as fact.
No, I thought we've been very clear about might, and that if translated, this is the impact it could have. And I think that remains true today. And I think there are examples, both in anticipation of sequestration,
this doesn't say might. This says
going forward that this is the impact.
Excuse me. This doesn't say might. This says there are literally teachers now who are getting pink slips, who are getting notice they can't come back this fall. Is that true?
I believe the Secretary has already said he spoke inaccurately and tried to correct that statement. But what is true is the potential impact of up to potentially 40,000 jobs is translated with the current spending pattern.
Is there anything in writing that was given to the Secretary before he made this statement? Anything in writing say, you can say this, we think this is going to happen? Anything in writing, or did this just conversation that took place at the department? I
can't speak specifically to what briefing materials the Secretary.
Was the Washington Post accurate when they gave 4 out of 4 Pinocchios to the Secretary's statement? Were they accurate, or do you think they're wrong?
I would presume that the Washington Post did what they thought was consistent with their reporting practices. I also know that in a follow-up story today, they've also said that there is an impact of sequestration likely on jobs. So I would believe both accounts from
Mr. Porcari, Mr. LaHood said flights to major cities like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and others could experience delays of up to 90 minutes during peak hours because we have fewer controllers on staff. Now, Mr. Meadows tells me last week in Transportation and Infrastructure Committee that the FAA administrator admitted under questioning that the 90-minute delays in major cities was not based on any data or study. Is that true? Do you have any, same question to Mr. Miller, do you have any study, any data that says we know for sure this is going to happen? Because I flew this week and it didn't happen to me.
We know some of the specific impacts. For Chicago would be a good example. By having less controllers on duty, Chicago has 2 towers. We would not be able to man the North Tower, which means 1 runway would be out of operation, which means significantly lower throughput.
The question is there any study that indicates this, in fact, is going to be the case? And if so, was the FAA administrator misleading the Transportation Infrastructure Committee last week when he said there is no data or study that indicates this is going to be the case?
Both the administrator and the secretary were pointing out that it is difficult to measure precisely until the cuts are in effect. We know it will have a significant impact, and the primary impact will be on our busiest.
So once again, it was a guess. We have two secretaries, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Transportation, guessing, suggesting, without data or any study to support that these facts were going to happen. And we have the Washington Post calling the Secretary of Education, I won't use the term, but we have the Washington Post saying that he misled the American people to the tune of 4 out of 4 Pinocchios.
We believe those are reasonable estimates based on what we know now. We know the operational impacts will be significant.
When did you guys start planning for the sequester? Did you start planning like I think a good administrator, a good planner, a good leader would do? Did you start planning in August of 2011 when this bill first passed?
We were well prepared for January 1st.
Did you start planning then?
We started planning in the fall.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.
I thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentlelady from California.